Here, take the wheel. What? Stay out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, crap.
Sic parvis magna is the motto of Nathan Drake, which translates to, thus from small things, great things come. And now we've come to the end of his improbable adventure. Sic parvis magna. We saw Uncharted's unlikely beginning over a decade ago with a submarine in a jungle. Now conclude with an introspective look at Nathan Drake's past and his future. While there are some minor disappointments in the finale of Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, it is ultimately one of the best games on the PS4 and a deserving send-off to the characters we all know and love. Uncharted 4 opens with a young Nathan Drake in an orphanage being reprimanded for fighting. He's sent to bed, and out of the corner of his eye, Nathan sees a flashing light and ultimately his call to adventure. Drake escapes the orphanarium and meets up with his brother Sam, who strikingly looks like a young Conan O'Brien. The Drake brothers escape the oppressive Catholic gulag to go on their first caper, stealing back their deceased mother's journals, which were bought by an anonymous collector. Fast forward, and we see the brothers Drake in a Panamanian prison, accompanied by their new partner Rafe. The quarry they're chasing is the treasure of Henry Avery. Henry Avery was one of the most successful pirates in history. Avery was an exceptional pirate because he was able to retire after being active for only 2 years and was never captured. The booty he stole is estimated at $500,000 and was never recovered. Nathan, Sam, and Rafe aimed to claim the gold for themselves by getting locked up and bribing a guard to give them access to where they believe the treasure is hidden, on the prison grounds. The caper goes sideways. As the crew attempts to escape, Sam is shot and left for dead. Fast forward to Nathan Drake's present. He's working as a scuba diver searching for scrap, and his current life is very different from where we left him at the end of Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Basically, Nathan's life is at the dad jeans stage, far removed from what it was just a few years ago. He's out of the treasure hunting business, but he hasn't lost his wanderlust. Since we last saw Nathan, he's also married his longtime love interest, Elena. Both have settled into domestic life, but Elena wants Nathan to reignite his passion for adventure too. Nathan is working his way through the mediocre drudgery we all must endure, and then enter Sam. It turns out that Sam was not killed, but was recaptured during their escape. Sam escaped the Panamanian prison with the help of a drug lord, who in turn wants in on the action. Now Nathan has to help Sam get the fortune of Avery to save Sam from his grisly fate at the hands of this knockoff Pablo Escobar. The brothers are off on one last caper together, but Nathan decides to lie to Elena and tell her he's off on another job.
Hey. Hey, Nate.
Hi, honey.
Oh, hi. I've been trying to get a hold of you. Are you okay?
Yeah, of course. What do you mean?
Well, you know, the news. There's been all that flooding. Maybe going to Malaysia during the monsoon season wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah, right. Right, yeah, it grounded us for sure. You know, had some equipment failure, but, you know, no one's hurt or anything.
Well, as long as you guys are safe.
Knowing Elena from the prior games, you have to ask yourself, does she know that Drake is lying to her? That's about all I want to say about the story of A Thief's End. It has some great twists that should be left as a surprise to the player. However, I'd like to dive into the core question of Uncharted 4.
I wanted to tell you.
You know what? Enough.
No, I wanted to, but how could I?
I don't know. Just say it.
I had to protect you.
That is bullshit, Nate. You just didn't have the nerve to face me again.
I knew you would react like this.
How would you react? You lied to me for weeks. If you were killed, I wouldn't have even known about it. And now you have a brother. Who are you?
Come on. I'm me. Come on, it's me.
Who is Nathan Drake? Uncharted 4 answers that question. Initially, I anticipated Uncharted 4 to be a send-off, getting the gang back together for one last job. Instead, A Thief's End is a character study of not only Nathan, but his friends as well. Unexpectedly, the tale really makes the player question if Nathan is a bad person. Up until this point, Drake has been a suave, charming guy who happens to love falling off cliffs. What A Thief's End aims to explore is, what kind of man is Nathan Drake? Ultimately, Nathan is forced to make a choice that every man must make. Do you stay loyal to your biological family regardless of how they negatively affect your life? Or do you create new loyalties that are as strong as blood ties to your significant others and friends? Additionally, the flashbacks with Sam and Nathan give you an impression of Sam that is less than flattering. You start to wonder if Sam is a good brother, and is there anything more to their relationship than Avery's treasure? While the characterization is outstanding in Uncharted 4, So is the writing. We all expect one-liners from Nathan.
Hey, we weren't fighting, huh? Right, little guy?
Voy a matar, gringo, come mierda.
Hey, give me a call when you're tall enough to ride the rides.
Te voy a sacar tiras por el culo.
This time around, the writing is much more natural than anything that's been done in the other Uncharted games. A perfect example is at the beginning of A Thief's End. Nathan and Elena are chatting on the couch, and it feels super authentic. It's the ho-hum sort of conversations we all have with our spouses that drives home that Nathan's life is different now.
Joe, how was your day?
What?
Huh?
Got none of that.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. How was your day?
Oh, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Typical day in paradise.
There are some scenes in the story that carry heavy subtext as well. Rafe serves as the main antagonist with his partner Nadine. Rafe is a typical beta male, untrustworthy, and pretty slimy. By contrast, Nadine is completely alpha. Even if she isn't on the same side as Drake, she's pretty badass. Oftentimes when Nadine and Rafe share a scene, there is an undercurrent of the threat of violence that Rafe projects towards Nadine that, if handled incorrectly, would have come off as either too obvious or too far beneath the surface to have any significance. But in these scenes, Naughty Dog creates tension that communicates both Rafe's volatility and Nadine's fearlessness. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End does an admirable job both of saying goodbye to fans as well as making fans re-examine the central character, Nathan Drake. This valediction to fans is best exemplified as the player is allowed to walk through Drake's man cave. I love looking over the artifacts from Drake's previous journeys. It feels like there's been a lot of care in curating his collection, though I wish Nathan would talk about these adventures in the present. Like, how does he feel about these choices now as opposed to how he felt at the time? While the Uncharted franchise's narrative structure has improved dramatically over the years, the gameplay is more or less the same. You find cover and you shoot from behind it. You jump on rocks, cliffs, and ledges. You swing on posts, twigs, and poles. I wish that the gameplay had evolved more over the decade we followed Drake, but unfortunately it's a fairly stagnant affair. The two new additions are a rope to swing with at designated points.
That should hold. Let's hope. Please work, please work!
And a pick straight out of the new Tomb Raider series. The rope swing feels like a missed opportunity because it might have led to more interactions between the player and the combat arenas. It could have added some verticality to level design, which would have fundamentally changed the gameplay. Unfortunately, the approach to enemy encounters is much the same as previous games. Find cover, hide behind cover, and play the deadliest game of whack-a-mole. When I did experiment with the swing, during combat it generally resulted in death. The reason for that is that you still need to find cover when you land, so you definitely have to look before you leap. This is probably the biggest disappointment for me while playing Uncharted 4. The rope is totally Indiana Jones's whip, and proper implementation would have felt like the Uncharted franchise would have finally reached its logical conclusion: be Indiana Jones. That would have been completely boss. A Thief's End attempts to introduce some stealth options which have been developed and refined more since Uncharted 3 and The Last of Us. Stealth is serviceable, but Nathan's movement isn't all that suited to swiftly moving in for the kill. The best use of stealth is just to thin out the herd and then start blasting. The other addition is the rock climbing pick used for exploration, but it really just adds another button to press, not much else. There is significant attention given to sliding down hills as well, but it doesn't add much to the experience. However, it does result in a serious case of the mud butt. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is by far one of the best looking games on the PS4. It is the culmination of the years of work Naughty Dog has put into their visuals, and it's a huge payoff. The first thing that caught my eye was the detail each character has in the game. Take Nadine, for example. She's a rough customer. However, at the beginning of the game, you, the player, don't know that. But the observant viewer can see small cuts and scrapes on her skin, indicating that she is not your average woman. Additionally, the gestures characters emote with are really refined, and this is equally true with the facial expressions. The environments are also filled to the brim with excellent attention to detail. There's a market scene that does an admirable job of attempting to put the player into a crowded developing world bazaar. The bustling arcade creates a great contrast to most of Nathan Drake's human interactions, which usually involve either blowing things up or being blown up. The environmental puzzles are outstanding, if not a bit unchallenging to the player's mental faculties. Uncharted makes another bold attempt by giving the player a level of freedom that hasn't been experimented with before. There is a section in Madagascar which allows Nathan to access an all-terrain vehicle. This area is open world and almost feels like a different game. While ascending this tower, I felt like I was playing an Assassin's Creed. The environments are varied, with the foliage being a major highlight. One especially effective use of flora is actually the baobab trees in the open world sections. These trees are so iconic of Madagascar and draw the viewer into the setting. There are some excellent weather and water effects throughout A Thief's End, with some discrete layering of rain, dynamic weather effects, and mud physics that make the player feel like they're impacting the environment. Additionally, there's a nice effect when Nathan walks through taller vegetation, where the fescue reacts to his movement. This is most obvious when he strides across flowers. You can see that it's a simple area that affects the region where he walks, but the effect delivers information to the player elegantly. The lighting in Uncharted 4 is well executed, from the sun-baked desert to dimly lit caverns. The lighting draws the player even further into Uncharted's world. Ultimately, Uncharted 4's biggest strength is the game's excellent facial animations. There has been so much detail put into the smallest twitches of the face that you can read what the characters are feeling in each scene. The sound in Uncharted has always been stellar, and A Thief's End is no exception. Of course, the stuff that goes boom sounds amazing. The ricocheting of bullets, off walls, and the sound of explosions all have the same cinematic quality of the fever dreams of Michael Bay. When the action dies down, Uncharted has some excellent environmental sound effects. I love the distant sounds of birds and the pitter-patter of rain on the forest's canopy.
Boat's down there.
After you, Captain.
The soundtrack for A Thief's End was provided by a new composer, Henry Jackman, and is excellent. Jackman has scored many movies, and his previous experiences fit perfectly with Uncharted. There's a poise to this score that feels more akin to a globe-trotting action film a la Mission Impossible than a video game. The score has fast-moving string sections, mixed with pounding timpanis and galloping bongos. Weaving in and out are some nice woodwind instruments that remind the listener that the setting is exotic and unexplored. While all of this heart-pounding music is great, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End also gives the listener some slower, more inquisitive tracks that play with Uncharted's theme song in interesting ways. While all of this is great, my favorite track is For Better or Worse. When this song begins to play, the impact is inseparable from the visuals and the storytelling. It's so somber and reflective, you can't help but wonder what's going to happen next. The voice acting in Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is spectacular. The Yakuza series has always been my high-water mark for voice acting in video games, and Naughty Dog is the English equivalent. While Uncharted has always given a sense of fun to the characters, this chapter brings a level of depth that I didn't expect.
All those years away. And I'm sorry for what happened to you. But it's not his fault.
I never said that it was.
It took a long time for him to get out of this game.
You see a gun to his head? He chose this. Okay, he's meant for this life.
You really believe that?
Why are you here, Victor?
Because somebody's got to keep an eye out for him.
You can pick up Uncharted 4: A Thief's End for $10, so there isn't any reason not to play it. The game will take you about 15 hours to complete. On normal, Uncharted is about the same as previous titles in the series. I'd suggest playing all of the Uncharted games on easy, because you can experiment more with the combat. There are some nice extras included in the package with a concept art viewer, character model gallery, and outfits you can replay chapters with. The Uncharted series brought the PlayStation brand back to relevancy during the PS3 era. Much like Crash Bandicoot made the PS1 the console to buy. What a great feeling it is to see these two games share the screen together in our final send-off to Nathan Drake. PlayStation owes a lot to Uncharted, and the final adventure of Nathan Drake is a great farewell. This is Zach with Tanuki Games. I'd like to thank you for watching my video. Please remember that a like, a comment, or subscribe means a lot to me and, of course, the channel. Enjoy!
Okay, watch and learn.
Oh, I'm learning all right.
Is this it?
No, it has to load.
Load.
Yes.
This is taking a really long time.
You have no patience.
When you turn something on, you expect it to... Okay, there we go.
Crash Bandicoot.
Is there a problem?
No, just, how do you make it go?
Push the start button.
I knew that.
All right.
I got it.
Okay, so you want to run towards the camera.
Run to the camera. Got it.
And the circle button is your spin attack. Okay, run away from the boulder.
Why is the boulder chasing me?
Just run away from it.
I did nothing to this boulder. That spin hurt. Oh, what happened?
You fell in the pit.
I don't know. How do I climb back up?
You're dead.
Well, that's not realistic. I would have climbed back up. You should learn to climb. Climbing's always helped me.
Wait, jump! Jump!
Stop yelling at me.
I'm encouraging you. Coaching you. Keep going, keep going. Use your spin attack.
Which button?
Circle, spin attack. Jump over the pit.
Well, he didn't jump far enough. What's the button for jump farther?
That's life. You gotta make it count.
Oh, I still got this.
Good, good. There you go.
Not enough Wumpa fruit to save that.
What? Is that it?
You asked for it.